I see the Padawan needs one last lesson.
Imagine if an SJW got a hold of this stream right now. Oh my, we would be blacklisted.
We're canceled. We're canceled for this one.
Of course, yeah. If Kenobi's a jumbled mess like that, a lot of fans are. It's not going to be good.
The guy with the guy in the cloak with the hood. You know that.
I'm getting a lot of people. A lot of people are really mad about that, man. What is going on, friends and good family? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another edition of Late Night. I got to be honest with you guys. I'm enjoying the heck out of talking about the Star Wars that I love and doing these model streams and just really getting together with you guys and enjoying all the stuff about Star Wars that I love. But eventually, I was going to have to come back to reality and remember exactly where we are in a Star Wars fan base. And that's something that we're going to be talking about tonight. I am joined, as always, by my wonderful bald co-host, the Grand Moff Rissman. How you doing, brother?
Hello there. I'm doing most excellent. Hope you are as well.
Well, it was a tough day for me in football. Has nothing to do with Star Wars, so we're not going to talk about it. But I want to say what's up to the chat really quick. We got a lot of the usual suspects here, some beautiful people. Graph Web is here with the usual. Cancel Disney Plus. Good to see you. OG is here. Brian W is here. Tevin Daniels, Leia Rose, Star Wars Dog, Sparta 300, Anakin Skywalker, Stephen Brown. We got a super chat before the stream even started from Scott Westbrook. I wish I was going to be able to stay up and watch this. I'll be watching the replay tomorrow. I'll be honest with you. I'm not mad at you. I know it's a late night and I can't find the super chat video.
Oh no.
Where did it go? It's definitely around here somewhere. Thank you. Thank you, Scott Westbrook. Tomorrow morning from the future. Good to have you here, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah. Darcipio is here. Doom Guy is here. What's up, Doom Guy? Maria Espino, my good friend, is here. Beskar Man 38. Oh, Knights of Melvin already in the chat saying, interrupting football to talk about Way Skywalker. Yeah, don't worry. We're going to be talking about it. I'm not an East Coast guy, not a big old AFC dude. So as soon as the Niners lost, I was out. I'm sure Joe Burrow is going to figure out what he needs to do to get in the Super Bowl. And if he doesn't, Chiefs were a better team. What are you going to do? Anyways, McLovin and Fran, you're the last two I'm going to say what's up to. Okay. So, the big news, the big rumor, everybody in the Star Wars fan base is talking about it. Wouldn't you know it? Rey is rumored to make a return in the first feature-length Star Wars movie that we've gotten since Episode 9.
and she's been articled out to death, right? She's been on that. She's been on the article circuit, as I call it. So many different Daisy Ridley
And Nathan Everett. What's
articles that have been out there. Are we surprised? Really?
No, I'm not shocked at all. And it kind of reminds me. Did you ever watch the Family Guy Star Wars?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When what's her name? I can't remember. Lois is playing Princess Leia, and she's like, "We are standing somewhere where you can literally go in any direction, anywhere off this planet, anywhere you would want to go, infinite directions, and we're gonna go right at the Star Destroyers." And the guy's like, "Is there somebody we can talk to? Maybe from like the military?" That's what it feels like the decisions are being made at Lucasfilm right now. Like, you could literally do anything in the world, and you pick the one thing that's going to piss a bunch of people off. Is that purposeful?
And I saw some online speculation that this movie would be released direct to Disney Plus. You know, they had sort of threatened / promised us that they would be releasing some feature length somethings, right? Non-series, right? Feature length things to Disney Plus directly. And for that, I'm like, well, if that's true, I don't know if that's just wishful thinking on minimizing a situation that could be worse, or if that's a real thing. Does it satisfy our lacking for Star Wars theatrical content if the first thing they do bring Rey back and put it on Disney Plus? It just doesn't seem to get, in my opinion, it doesn't get us any closer.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. Honestly, with all of the things that you've experienced, and I know that they're not blind in the ivory tower. I know they hear the whisperings of the peasants in the streets. I know that they know what's going on. And my question is, if you know all of those things, why do it? Why do something that's going to be intentionally divisive? Why do something that's intentionally going to stir up drama? Maybe that's the point. We want people pissed off and talking about it, but what a fucking Rian Johnson thing to do. Why don't we explore another part of the universe? Why don't we do something new? Let's try something else. I can't comprehend the decision. And of course, this is all speculation at this point. We don't have anything, announced, but
well, and I on this point, Maria speculates that I called it an article binder, right? But she speculates it's a press junket. Well, it can't be a press junket without there being anything announced to press up.
Right.
That's why I just call it her being interviewed, because as of right now,
there's nothing to pump up. Yeah. Showroom Sabres for $1.99 said, "We'll catch on replay. Much love to you two. Rest in peace, San Francisco 49ers. Don't bring it up. Don't talk about it, because I'm still pissed."
I mean, most people I've talked to have been like,
Thank you for the super chat, my good friend. Yeah, I know. Thanks. Well aware.
You're just rubbing the salt in the wound. It's too soon.
Well aware. You know what the worst part was, too? Right before the game started, I looked at Mrs. X-Wing. My jersey was not where it usually is. And I wear my jersey for every Niners game.
Oh, wow,
I look and my jersey's not there. I'm like, "Excuse me, Mrs. X-Wing, have you seen my jersey?" She's like, "Well, it's in the dryer and it's still wet." And I'm like, I tell you what, if we lose, it's on you. The whole reason the Niners lose, it's on you. And guess what happened? Brock Purdy got injured in like the first 15 minutes of the game. That's what happens. This is what happens when you don't follow sacred traditions. Bernie says, "X-Wing, it's because I keep telling people, and I swear no one listens, there is more people that love the sequels than any of us that dislike and or haters." Hard disagree. I just think less people are on the internet screaming about it that hate it than there are people that are screaming that they love it on the internet. That's my pushback. Because a lot of the OG fans don't have YouTube channels, and they're not on Twitter, and they're not in your groups anymore. Trust me, a lot of people are not happy.
I was at dinner last night, and there was a 40-something-year-old couple sitting next to me, and they struck up a conversation with me about Star Wars, because it happens a lot, and disclosed that he was showing his girlfriend for the first time Star Wars. She had never seen any Star Wars, and they started with A New Hope. As well you should. And they were leaving and go home. They were going to go watch Empire Strikes Back. So I know where Maria's coming from, as we've talked about before. there are some entrants to the franchise who either entered at the sequels or who do like the sequels. For me, I think the failings in the sequels doesn't have much to do with the actors or actresses and the parts they were playing, whether it's Rey or anyone else. It has to do with the fact that the stories weren't great.
Yeah.
And they had to act towards those stories to the best of their ability. So for me, specifically, if there is a new movie coming out and it does feature Daisy as Rey, and the story is good, okay, tell me a good story.
But that's the thing. And that's what I wanted to touch on, is that even if it's great, even if it's perfect, it's still going to be divisive because people don't want to see it. People don't want to see Rey. They want to move on. They want to do other things. That's the bottom line. And it's something that I have tried, since we're on the subject, something I've tried to tell Maria consistently is that regardless, even if it is perfect, the storytelling's perfect, people are still going to be turned off as soon as you say the word Rey. It might have been salvageable if right at the end of the movie she didn't go, Rey Skywalker. I'm
burying the lightsabers in the sand.
I'm Rey Skywalker.
It's a problem. I get you.
So that's the thing. So that's where my brain goes. If I'm going to be the person that's going to make a new Star Wars movie, if I'm going to sink the money into it, let's try to do something that's going to bring as many people as humanly possible. And so if that statement is true and it is 50-50 or even 60-40 or even 7-30, why would you immediately turn off 30% of the fan base or 40% of the fan base right off the bat? I just don't get it. I don't get it. It's a bad decision in my eyes. George Lucas is here. I don't know if he agrees or not, but George Lucas, it's good to see you. I appreciate you. I'm fighting for you, buddy. It's not going well, but I'm fighting for you.
Well, in other news, Avatar 2 just unseated The Force Awakens as the fourth biggest grossing movie of all time. So maybe we should let Jim Cameron write a Star Wars movie.
I saw that. I didn't even think to put the two together, but then I saw the article and it was like Avatar 2 unseats Force Awakens. And
And I think domestically, so that was like, gross international box office. I think domestically, the soundbite was Avatar 2 on domestic alone unseated The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
From whatever top 10 or whatever.
Was it Last Jedi or Force Awakens?
No, well, it's The Force Awakens. It's Force Awakens globally, but if we're just talking about U.S. box office, apparently that statistic was The Last Jedi. For me, it just shows that if you have the chops and you tell a good story, people are going to go out and watch it and continue to watch it for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks in a row. I think I think they're re-releasing Titanic for Valentine's Day. Of
course, yeah. Why not?
Some reimagined Titanic. So I think there's probably
make more money.
But again, Jim Cameron now has 3 of the top 4 grossing movies of all time.
Yeah, if you're gonna get someone in Star Wars, get that guy in there. I don't care what people say. People crap on that guy until the day he dies about how he makes terrible movies, and then we all watch them and we're like, "Wow, it's great." Sorry.
It's Jim Cameron, right? I mean, there's just one of these folks that you don't bet against. But that's where I come to. It's less about, for me, it's less about is Rey back or not. It's more about who's written the story, what story is it, and how will the story resonate. On your point, the barrier to entry, one of them being sequel
immediately an issue.
And that doesn't help. It doesn't help for roughly half the fandom. Yeah. So I also don't think it's where I would go. Maybe they don't go there. It's not been confirmed. All this hubbub is on a trade article by Variety or the Hollywood Reporter, whichever one it was, Deadline. I don't know.
Hollywood.
They've been wrong a little bit lately. So I know there's some scuttlebutt out there. It's not happening, or it's not going to be that kind of a story.
Remember though, these mumblings go back almost 5 weeks. You remember Daisy Ridley showing up at Lucasfilm, and everybody's like, what do we got going on here?
Just for a lunch.
Just for a lunch, yeah. And then now these things are starting to kind of tumbleweed, and it's looking more and more and more like this is going to happen. Again, I can't state this enough. This is all speculation at this point. But would I be surprised, shocked at all that this is the exact direct decision that they're going to make, or the direction they want to go? No.
And I saw Maria, and I had forgotten, right? Daisy has been on a press junket for her movie called I Think About Dying. I Want to Be Dead. Or Sometimes I Think About Dying is the name of the movie. And so as she's been out talking about that, people have been asking her about Star Wars, about Rey specifically, and her interest in returning to the franchise, etc. So the two things have sort of gotten conflated. So I'm with her on that one.
Yeah, it's all very interesting. I think, at this point we're a little beaten down. Some of us are feeling like, hey, maybe they don't understand us at all. Some of us have been feeling that way for a long time. But I think after everything that occurred, everything that happened between the fandom and Lucasfilm, moving into this next feature release, if this is the focus, then it would just signal 100%, hey, we heard you, and go fuck yourself. We don't care. That's what it feels like. I could be mistaken in my feeling there, but I mean, I just feel like after everything that's been said, the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of hours and videos and billions of views, and everything from the Star Wars fan base saying, look, this is not what we want, for them to be like, you know what, I don't give a shit, this is what we're doing. It's just kind of a fu. And so I'm not steaming mad, because I thought this is what they were going to do anyway, but it still feels like a little bit of a slap in the face.
I hear you, and I think for me, it's very telling. We wouldn't want them to screw up the next movie, right? As much as what happened with the sequels and the last movie, and for some folks still not enjoying, the Rise of Skywalker. So I was hoping they might go in a different direction, but going in a different direction, again, it does mean either they're creating all new characters again, or they're taking us to another part in the time frame that could be fraught with issue if they're doing Old Republic, or if they decided the next movie was going to be High Republic, or something which is treading on a new territory. They're in a bit of a no-win situation, and they're very gun-shy, I think, in regards to what the next product's going to be.
So you picked the worst possible avenue?
Well, they picked an avenue that is established. Whether it's the avenue we prefer or not, there is a portion of the fan base for which the sequels do resonate. So I think they're looking at how do they take a return on their investment and capitalize on that. Personally, at this point, I would say re-release the first 6 movies. If you really wanted to enter back gradually into the theatrical experience, re-release the first 6 movies in some meaningful way, spin it, or at least re-release Return of the Jedi. It's anniversarying now.
Yeah.
Do something to get the hype back up theatrically, and then ease into whatever the next project is. To me, it seems like a win-win, but they've never done it.
Speaking of, I don't know if you saw this. I shared this on Valiant Renegade stream. There is a surprise casting for a movie. Since it is the Return of the Jedi anniversary, we're going to be getting Sam Smith.
I saw this earlier on. We put it on
Sam
Twitter.
Smith back as the Rancor trainer. Malikili. I mean, he looks great. It's the same costume from the music video, so I think he's looking really good. I'm excited for it. I don't know about you guys.
And Darth Wizzy Wizard, I feel your pain, brother, in regards to what we now call the despecialized editions, what us old farts call the original editions.
Yeah.
That we all enjoyed either in the theater or via VHS and other means. George struck those down, right? He didn't want people to continue to consume those movies in that original fashion.
It was not his vision.
I think it's a horrible shame. I bet you, just me guessing, but I bet you Disney doesn't even have the capability to re-release those originals because I don't think he allowed anyone.
Might have been in the contract, huh?
But having said all that, at this point, put the first 3 back out, or at least Return the Jedi back. Put out the specialized. Who care at this point? Put a Star Wars movie that's not Rogue One. As much as I love Rogue One, put a Star Wars movie that's not Rogue One back into a theater and watch people go out and see it.
I would almost guarantee you if they re-release the prequel trilogy in the theater, well, I would be there 100%. But dude, to see the Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith back in the theaters, oh my god, I couldn't tell you what I would give just to sit down and feel that bump, the opening moment when they go into the Battle of Coruscant and Revenge of the Sith.
I have to tell you, Disney for their 100, they're celebrating 100 years of Disney Studios now, and they just reimagined in California Adventure. They do a World of Color. They do the fountain show.
Yeah.
And they project things on the fountain, and they have a Star Wars bit now for a few minutes in the reimagined show, and I watched it on my WDWNT. They're there and they're covering it, and I watched it, and what they showed, it's the John Williams score, it's the Star Wars music, it's clips from the original trilogy and from the prequels projected up onto the water, and
Hard to go wrong with that.
Like, somebody gets this.
Yeah.
Whoever put this together gets it. If you wanted to reinvigorate the movies after the pandemic, the movie theater experience, I don't understand why they didn't re-release the first 6. Any number of them. I don't get it.
We have to pay homage to what came before. I feel like that's something that's missing so spectacularly, is paying homage to what came before and then doing something new. And a lot of people would argue that that is something that we've gotten. Of course, we've had callbacks in The Mandalorian, and most of the shows we've had callbacks, but I just can't help but to feel like maybe I'm not understood right now. You know what I mean? I just feel like I'm not understood. Pod racing, imagine how that would sound now. Oh my God.
When that music, when Star Wars music started in that World of Color show, the crowd went wild.
Just ape shit.
And they didn't project the first thing yet. It was just the ta-da! And everyone's like, oh, here we go, it's Star Wars.
Yeah.
Right? The place went wild. And so I'm like, it just seems like such a missed opportunity to me. It really does.
Yeah. There's some really questionable decisions that have been made. And again, I'm somebody who really looks at an overall pattern of behavior or recurring themes in a studio's behavior, whatever the case may be. And I feel like there's a trend. There just happens to be a trend. And so there is a bit of a founding when it comes to saying, Star Wars is never going to be what it was. Star Wars will never get where it was, because there is this complete disconnect between what fans want and what they're giving. And regardless of whether or not you're a sequel trilogy fan or you're a prequel trilogy or original trilogy, I don't think there's anyone who can make an argument that says Star Wars is what it was. I just don't know how you can make that argument. So I don't think that it could never be again. But the decisions that are being made at this current point in time are not the decisions that need to be made in order to get Star Wars to where it was. That's the bottom line. And if anybody wants to argue that, please let me know in the comment section how they are making the right decisions, and we can have a discussion about that. But I fear you would be mistaken.
The decisions seem to me quite random and more than a bit ad hocly made. Maybe ad hocly is not a word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
right? It's just not. It lacks cohesion. It's the best way I know how to put it, and that's why I say, for me, when it lacks cohesion, go back to the grassroots. Put a fucking
bottom line, dude,
in the theater. I mean, this is not hard. You own the IP. Do something with it.
There is no source material. Yeah, it's a very good point. We're like, shit, what we're doing is not working. Well, what can we do to fix it? Like, well, let's try this. It's like, no, just look back at what did work. Look, I understand it's not 1980 or 1999 or 2003 or 2002, but just people change, but they don't change that much. It's not like going from the fucking dark medieval times to modern, adapted for modern audiences. We're not all that different. I mean, I really don't know how to get this out of my mind. People still love a good basic story with amazing visuals and good music. That's the bottom line. Look at Avatar. Was there anything absolutely mind-bogglingly different about the story that was told in Avatar? No, it's a classic fucking Disney movie. That's all it is. And then they just slapped a whole bunch of aquamarine all over it and then put some James Horner music in it. Call it a day. What are you going to get?
And
how about $2 fucking billion? How does that sound?
And you know what? When number 3 comes along and it's about the fire people, I'll be there watching that one too.
Guess what? I'm going to be there.
It's really, I mean, probably 4 will be wind, right? We're moving through all
Yeah,
the elements.
we made jungle people. We're going to do water people. What's the next one? Probably fire. I don't know. They might
No, it's fire. It's confirmed, right?
Yeah, no, I know. I'm
fire
just
people.
thinking about Earth, Wind, and Fire making a cameo song for. It's mind-bogglingly simple to make the correct decisions. What's difficult is producing a product that people are happy with. But the bottom line is, if you start in the right direction, people will recognize that and they will accept it and they'll love it. If you start in the wrong direction, I don't give a fuck what you make. They're not going to be happy. They're not going to be happy. So,
and I see CBK Born to Lose. Of course, they want to make something that's successful. And I think part of the reason why we're in this analysis paralysis mode, or have been, from Star Wars movie and all of that, is because they recognize that the last one wasn't as good as it could have been, and now they're very gun shy from a storytelling perspective, from a directorial perspective, from a go forward perspective. Who's gonna, who is signing up to be the next victim, if you will? And I don't mean the victimized, but the next victim to direct and to show run and to put out the next Star Wars movie. I know I wouldn't want to be in that situation, but somebody needs to be.
Where's the diversity hire at? Yeah, Big Out. What's up? Nikki in the chat couldn't be here tonight. Unfortunately, has the big C.
Yeah.
Very
Feel better,
coffee.
Nikki. Feel better.
But to go back to that statement, what do you seriously think they haven't looked back? Yes, I think they have, and they completely fucking ignored it. I think that's the part that upsets me. They've absolutely looked back. You can't have people who've been involved with Lucasfilm as long as they have, that are still working for Disney, and not look back. And there have been things that they have done that I can look back and be like, hey, great, that was an awesome nod. But if it's sitting within a steaming pile of something I don't give a crap, and I have to pull a golden kernel of corn out of that steaming pile of crap, then no, I'm not going to be happy with it. That's the bottom line. And that's a lot of things that people have said. I can't tell you how many people I talk to when it comes to Star Wars. When they look back, they say, look, there have been things that I have enjoyed from Disney Star Wars. There have been things in the Star Wars series that I have enjoyed watching, but overall, I'm not happy at the end of it.
I have to tell you honestly, I'd rather have, for me personally, I'd rather have Ron Howard back and Kasdan for Solo 2 than I would for the next movie to be Rey focused. That's just me personally.
What are they going to put in there that's going to draw in us? I guess I'll say, me, the 40 people watching, or the, any of the hundreds of people that consume content from my channel every week, or any other channel on YouTube, the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people. What's going to draw them in?
I actually have, I couldn't even hazard a guess, because because my mind goes to negative places, right? My mind goes to the Halcyon, but it goes to things in the sequel era time frame that they would want to rally around, because there's because there are other plays involved that make that logical from a business sense.
Well, I mean, you've got, the Halcyon Star Cruiser, which apparently they're stubborn enough to say that we can't change anything about that. So it's going to be the Rey Star Cruiser. You've got Disney World is basically locked into the sequel trilogy at this point. What are you going to do to change it? Can you?
And on the Halcyon, rather than offer real discounts, they're just canceling cruises now that are lowly booked.
I can't understand it, dude.
Can you imagine being an employee who's assigned there? It's no wonder why we saw actors and actresses
leaving in droves.
Leaving because now it seems like they're not guaranteed consistent work, and there were other stories about in the dining room and all that, overloaded wait staff because of not quite enough people there to do 2 seatings, so they're jamming people together, and now there's too many it's just been an awful mess. And then they did a fake discount that was only attached to if you stayed before or after. They were giving you, I don't know, it's up to $700 off or something. But now they're just on your point, they're doubling down and just saying, well, we're not gonna diminish the experience. We're just gonna cancel cruises that are not popular or that aren't fully booked, and then we're going to then rebook people onto surrounding this is a $6,000 experience that people have purposely planned for a particular time. This isn't a Royal Caribbean cruise that's going every week and you can just slough around on if you wanted to, or get a future cruise credit, right? This is a whole different. There's nothing about that strategy that makes sense.
Yep.
But in my mind, still, I can see them somehow wanting to tie that in to the next movie, or having it be very Batu focused. As a matter of fact, the last episode of The Bad Batch, for whatever it was, when they were in that mech thing and they were talking about the ancients and all that.
We're going to talk about that.
A lot of folks wanted to make a connection there with Zepho. That's the wrong connection. The connection is, and where those ancients and how all that fits together is Batu. This is the whole backstory between Vi.
All right, we're going to get into that. Don't do it now. Just don't do it now. All right.
It's the whole. It's. This is what I mean.
We're going to talk about it. The bottom line is, look. In my eyes, in many fans' eyes, they're not making the right decision when it comes to this supposed movie that's going to be coming out. It seems like a misstep to a lot of us, and to all the people who were saying, hey, look, we're heading in the right direction. There's going to be 2 separate timelines. Ahsoka is going to be the one to, blah, blah, blah. The retcon, the whole argument we've been having for years and years and years and years and years. That would absolutely be the nail in the coffin that would close that. And Darth Wizzy, I just wanted to say to you, I appreciate you coming out and saying for everyone.
Listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
Love you, buddy. So anyways, moving on. Look, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to the Disney Plus series that are coming out and possible connections that they're going to make in those. One of the worst of which would be, and I just hate that I can't even be positive tonight. There's so many things I would like to be positive about, but it's just a late night where I'm going to shit on absolutely everything because I'm very frustrated. Ewan McGregor reignites Obi-Wan Kenobi Season 2 hopes with new comments. Did you see this?
I did. He wants to come back. He wants to do more.
I love Ewan McGregor. I love Obi-Wan Kenobi. Do you think this is a good choice?
I would still. I would like for Ewan to come back and to give what I would have considered to be the Kenobi's story we should have gotten in the first season, a very Luke-focused story, right? Even doing some things with the Tuscans and some of the rest of that we just didn't quite get. I have to tell you, when I'm out and about talking about Disney Plus shows, the people I talk to liked Kenobi, right? But I would consider them to be your more average normie, sort of run-of-the-mill Star Wars, enthusiasts. But you put Obi-Wan Kenobi in the form of Ewan McGregor, and you put Darth Vader in the suit doing just about anything, and it did resonate for folks, right? What you pick out in regards to the series, is just at a different level than most people. So I would like to have Ewan back as Kenobi, whether that's in a season 2 of Kenobi or in some other supporting fashion somehow in the stories they're telling. That would be personally fine with me. If Ewan showed up in Andor season 2 in some way as Kenobi, I would be perfectly fine with that. You're muted.
Oh, there we go.
Oh,
that was weird. You disappeared for a second, and then you came back. Maybe I skipped out. Big question: is Reva coming back?
If the rumors are to be believed, that there were a couple of different options for how they were going to end the first season of Kenobi, including the death of Reva, which ostensibly is not the version of events we got in the series that we saw, it would be logical to me to think it's because they wanted to leave the opportunity open to use her again.
And a lot of people really seem to like, definitely in the collecting community, seem to like Reva because they put out that HasLab Reva saber,
lightsaber,
and I think it garnered a total of about $5 in backing before they just shut the whole thing down. So yeah, I don't know about that. It's another one of those things that they're just not seeing the signs.
Well, and I saw Bill Tackett said, are the writers coming back? Maybe a different writing team. Joby Harold maybe didn't end up writing the best story. I just love you, and I think it's so funny now when I reflect back on that whole experience. I like the press and everything leading up to the series and all the little things.
Better than the show.
And the appearances with both Hayden and Ewan together and all that goodness. And then the show was what it was. And then I'm like, okay, they were so great at celebration and every way in which they represented the product and what they were doing. And all the rest of it was so just genuinely wonderful. Right?
Yeah.
It was Star Wars. And then the series was Kenobi.
It was Kenobi. Yeah. I don't know if any of you guys follow Drunk 3PO, but if you want to see me lose my mind talking about that show, I actually don't even think I had that much to say. I was mostly silent, not only on my channel, but on his videos as well, because I was in such a bad spot. It was.
I have to tell you, and I know I've bitched about it enough, but just one more bitch about it. I mean, what really got me was them ruining the Star Destroyer.
That's what killed it for you, huh?
And never launching a TIE fighter.
They did never launch a TIE fighter, did they?
They launched more TIE fighters in Andor than in the entirety of Kenobi.
Yeah. Top comment of the night. What a waste of Ewan and Hayden. When will Disney give the reins to X-Wing? Then I can sleep well at night. I would agree. Hardcore. So if anybody's got a hard line over to KK or any of those guys, just, put a good word in. I wouldn't mind doing it. I'll be honest with you. I'll even take her out to lunch. Just saying.
Or justice for Wade. Yeah. Wade.
Yeah, honestly, there's I went back through because I've put it out of my mind so hard. Like I've literally just kind of like let it go, never happened, don't have to think about it. And then I think I saw a short, and it was the scene where there's a T-47 hovering. What's Wade? Wade is shooting at Reva.
You were so I don't know why I remember this the most, but you were so infuriated by just the hovering and the different things that were going on with those speeders.
You know what, the shit that pisses me off so bad is like the T-47's been one of my favorite ships forever in Star Wars. Like I just love the T-47, you know what I mean? And you go back to the Battle on Hoth, they're shooting at AT-ATs. Right? One of them shoots and fucking blows up an AT-AT, and Reva's just like, I got it, yeah, I got it. Just beating him back. Like, shut the fuck up. Who wrote this? And not to mention, they like fucked up the scale. Excuse my French, but for the love of God, that thing was like the size of a fucking Mini Cooper, and Reva's just beating back dual fucking cannons from a T-47. Shut up!
it almost makes you forget that they escaped via trench coat, right? Because this whole thing happened right after the trench coat.
And then they did the fucking Austin Powers and just like, no, it'll be fine. I'm not the galaxy's most wanted Jedi with a fucking tumor on my leg in an Imperial base.
Cue the Benny Hill music, right? They were in the trench coat, and then this all happened. I'm like, and then no TIE fighters. They were all right there in the hangar. Nobody even went over.
Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
It's like, I don't know.
I will to, and I literally have trouble gathering my thoughts when it comes to like all the different things that I can say about that show that were just ridiculous.
But then I have to say, I don't know if it was in the article that you had up there or a different article, but Ewan went on to say that the one scene towards the end, when I think he says, "May the Force be with you," or something to the young Leia, actually made him burst into tears. Right? He was so emotionally invested in what they were doing that he lost it.
You know what? The one that got me, the
Hello
only
there.
good part of that entire show, no, it wasn't Hello. No, that shit was so campy. It was so like
come
Qui-Gon
on.
coming back in and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" It's like, "Oh, good to see you again." That shit pissed me off. The best part of that series was when Obi-Wan kneels down and is talking to Leia and says, you know, this about your father, this about your mother.
Well, that's that whole exchange is where he lost it.
That was good. That was good.
I
It
thought
brings
him
you
saying
back. It
hello
ties
there-
everything together. It was great.
When he saw Luke at the end and said hello there, finally, I felt something then. I felt something in the Leia scene at the end, and
I was
also
gone. I was gone by that point. I was just gone.
The Qui-Gon business was a nonsense, right? We don't
Yeah.
go back into the Qui-Gon. I'm just talking about that culmination of events at the end.
Yeah. We should have been feeling that for that entire show. That's what I would say. So if somebody understood the story that needed to be told, if somebody understood the audience that it was being told to, that entire series, we should have been feeling, oh my God, the callbacks. Oh my God, the feelings of Revenge of the Sith. Oh my God, the feelings of, you know, the relationship between Anakin and Obi-Wan and the pain that he's feeling inside him, which they did. I mean, did they reference it? Yeah. Did they do a good job of actually bringing that emotion to the audience? No, they did a horrible fucking job. And the only time I really felt that emotion at all was when, you know, you are this and you get this from your father, and you are this and you get this from your mother. That was like, oh, that was the only thing I felt in that entire series. That's all I felt.
Yeah, and Maria's right. I mean, Vader snapping the kid's neck as he was walking through the village and all that. That was cool.
Didn't do a thing for me.
I thought it was cool.
It should have. It really should have. It just didn't, man. I don't know. It's really hard to explain. I think there's something inside of me. There was something inside of me knowing where the show was going to go, because I had been leaked the entire story, the entire series, everything that was going to be done in it before I even set foot in it, that a lot of the things that I saw felt empty and cold because I already knew where it was going.
And you didn't like it, right? Now, it was two things, right? You knew where it was going, and it wasn't a story for you. I get that. I get that.
And it's tough when you have somebody who, you know, obviously has followed the lore through on Kenobi and what has already been told, and what has already been told by other people who are clearly much better storytellers than whoever did the show. To see that just basically shoved off when there was already a story in place that would have been worlds better than the one that was told is extremely frustrating. And I don't know if they just wanted to stay away from the Tusken Raiders or what the deal was, but the story of the Outpost and Plug Eye and the Tuskens and everything that could have happened in Kenobi was much, 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 much better than the story that we got. But they just, I don't know if they felt like they had to bring, nobody's going to watch it if we don't bring in young Leia. Like, fuck off.
That's when we thought Kumail was playing the Tusken Jedi, and what Kumail ended up playing, basically a charlatan.
It's a joke.
That whole part of it. Of course, I got stuck on the fact they were clearly in the repurposed Boba Fett set, right? When all that was going on, and so many things, so many many disappointing things happened serially in both the Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi.
Yeah.
You know, it was just two bad scenes in a row, literally.
Yeah. And then moving in, we got Mando season 3. And you know what's funny? I'm staying away from the leaks. There was a long time ago, kind of early on, when I was listening to some of the leaks about Mando 3, and I decided, screw it. I'm not going to look at them. I'm not going to listen to them. Let's just go into this fresh. Mando still has, I would say, to this day, the most hope in my heart for things that can happen, which is funny because you're in the complete opposite boat. But I feel like Mando still has the best opportunity to be Star Wars that people will like. But then again, it's still ball and chained by the whole Gina Carano thing. I went back today while I was looking around because some of the favorite arguments by people on the internet are, it was some shitty side character that I don't care about. They're just, why do I care about this person? They had no impact on the story. I went back and I watched season 1 and 2. She was everywhere. It's Mando's best friend. The reason why, remind me of the Navarro basically got turned around and turned into the society that it is. Cara Dune had a huge impact on the Mandoverse. Huge impact. So I'm really interested to see what's going to happen in Mando season 3 because it's going to have to be talked about. And I'm honestly wondering if maybe we don't get a cameo.
I think there's a next to 0% chance there'll be any.
Think so?
I think she'll be killed off screen, personally. And I think part of the reason why they can get away with making these changes is because the appearances, the story they're telling in Mando 3 is a very different kind of story than what they told in Mando 1 and 2.
Okay.
Right? The dad and sidekick out on missions, get him back to a Jedi. The reason why I'm over Mando, generally speaking, really is because of Book of Boba Fett. And the way in which I feel that those two Mando-centric episodes diminished our investment into seasons of The Mandalorian, which I don't think we're going to get those 2 episodes. Some people have speculated, well, it's 8 episodes, 2 of those episodes, we've already seen them, blah, blah. I don't think so. I think they'll do something to recap how it all happened. I don't think they're going to be 6 new episodes in those 2 episodes, in other words, right? I think they're going to have to figure that out. But I'm like, you ruined my investment for 2 seasons on getting him back to the Jedi and all that. Okay, he got X-Wing Ubered back in Book of Boba Fett because we needed him to do something in that series and for whatever. Okay, fine. Now we have a season 3 of Mando that seems to be very Mandalore focused and some of the rest of it.
Right.
I'm struggling to. I am personally.
But there's a big Navarro arc. That's the thing. I mean, we see him at Navarro early on with Grief Cargo. We do see Navarro, destroyed at some point. I mean, there's gonna be a Navarro arc.
I'm struggling as to why do I care at this point? What why
I care. This is fucking wrong.
What is it that I care about in The Mandalorian season 3? Do I care about Mando? Do I care about Grogu? Do I care about Bo-Katan? I'm struggling. I'm struggling for what
something to latch onto.
What is the point of all of it?
Well, season 1 and 2, right? We had this overarching journey. We had to get to a Jedi. Then we got to a Jedi, and then I was like, well, it's not the right Jedi, but we can find another Jedi. Then we get Luke. So yeah, to your point, exactly what is going to happen in this that's going to matter? Well, it's the Mandalorian arc. But to your point, did we care enough about Mando to be excited for him to go to Mandalore and cleanse his sins? And if that's his deal, what's the point? What's the point of all this?
Yeah, why do I care?
That's kind of the fun, though, for me. That's the fun for Mando 3 is I have no idea what they're doing. Obviously, they're going to have a cohesive story because that's what they've done with Mandalorian. And that's why I say I'm more excited about that than any of the other stuff, is because I feel like they have an ability to tell a good story. I wanted to touch on this really quick. Legion of Maul, what if they recasted her? Big bad no idea in my book. I would rather have them kill her off screen than recast her.
I think there is a logical, to me it's logical. He's on Navarro, Grief's there, he's all dolled up, things are happening. There is some reason to mention whatever happened with Cara Dune. You know, there has been some speculation about how they might kill her off and all of that. I think at the very least there'll be a mention. I don't think there'll be a recasting. I don't think there'll be a cameo. And I think, again, the story they're telling in Mando 3 can be successfully told with no Cara Dune. Yeah. I personally think we're going to see Boba Fett and or Fennec Shand. And
Boba's going to be in it for sure.
I think, yeah, at least Boba's going to have a role to play in Mando 3. So if I have any reason why I'm actually looking forward to Mando 3, it's I want to see Boba Fett and I want to see him kicking ass. I want to see something that helps me heal a bit from what I got in the book of Boba Fett. Honest to God, I do.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you 100%. And honestly, I'm excited. I saw Brian said it. R5D4, the hero of Star Wars, he gets a redemption arc all the way from 1977, from the first time he blew his motivator to the freaking hero of Star Wars. I hope so. That's something I can get behind.
Even that though, as much as I love R5D4 as well, even that though is weird because Pelimoto made such a point to saying I removed the droid turret so that Grogu can have a place and yada yada yada, and now all of a sudden R5D4 is right back in the turret again. Yeah. And now, you know, Grogu and Mando are in the cockpit together.
There's something we don't understand that's going to happen there, and you know, towards the end of the season. I get that. That's fine. But yeah, I don't know. At this point, and I think that's what kind of makes it a little bit exciting, is that we really have no idea what they're doing. We have no idea why the story is going to be poignant, if it is poignant at all. Really, I guess the thing I'm most excited for, knowing that, you know, we've had these Luke cameos, we've had these awesome different things happen in the show. I want to see where this bitch is going, man. I want to see what's going to happen.
I'm watching. I'm not even watching under protest, right? I'm just like I posted earlier today. I'm more excited for Picard season 3 than I am for Mando season 3. That's just me personally. So, but I want it to slap, right? I want it to be energizing, and everyone's talking about it again, and we're ready to go, and let's do this, and everything like folks were for Mando season 2. Yeah, because we've been in a little bit in Mando withdrawal. I get it, and then not to go back to Book of Boba Fett, but then we had that, you know, a couple of episodes and so on. I really want them to do great with it. I'm more excited for Ahsoka, as much as it also makes me a little bit nervous, just because of that story. I think there are opportunities there for people to be disappointed, depending on the treatment of the characters of Ezra and Thrawn specifically. I'm personally more excited for Ahsoka than I am for Mando season 3.
I'm real cautious about Ahsoka. That could be extremely problematic or super great. I don't know. I went back and rewatched the Ahsoka episode of Mandalorian this morning, actually. I was like, man, I really liked her as Ahsoka. She was really good. She's really good.
Role very well, doesn't she?
Yeah, and she's a great actress. I got nothing but love and respect for her as an actress. So, you know, if nothing else, maybe that's the show where we get a bunch of pew-pews and lightsabers and awesome storytelling. Who knows? That's another thing where I don't really know where they're going to go with the story. I have no idea. If they're incorporating the world between worlds, we're going to see some crazy shit in Ahsoka. Hard stop. But that kind of leads us into the only other show that we have going on right now, which is the Bad Batch, and how I can't seem to bring myself to give a shit about the show. As much as I'd like to, I just don't. It's content. It's content.
The whole last episode, I was watching, you know, the character that Wanda Sykes is voicing. I the whole time I was the guy who was like, this should be Hondo. This episode would be so much better for me if rather than introducing this new character, they had given us Hondo, right? And they were out on an adventure. Just think of the Fee character removed and Hondo put in the place.
Right.
And that's where I'm like, this is
we have to get the stone from the fifth element.
This is such an easy. This to me is such an easily missed opportunity. Why do you create a brand new pirate character when you have a pirate character? He's in Galaxy's Edge, for crying out loud.
Yeah, he's on your rides already.
You have a pirate character which is much beloved. Why?
Wanda Sykes of all people. Wanda Sykes. I was watching the show. I'm not gonna lie to you. Mrs. X-Wing doesn't watch Star Wars. I'm watching the show, right? And she just hears and she goes, "Why do I know that girl's voice?" It's fucking Wanda Sykes.
and I don't even think she's done a bad job voice acting the character.
No, not at all.
I just don't understand why it was necessary. I'm like, full of Filoni. I've said it before, I'll say it again. But in regards to this last episode, which I was ranting about earlier, and the fact that people were trying to reach for some meaning, right? Because the mech thing they ended up in, some folks said, well, it looks very Zepho.
It looks like a Zepho thing. Yeah, it's got the same head.
Unfortunately, I do think that the tie-in they were trying to make when they talk about the ancients and the puzzles and those sorts of things, this is exactly what Vi had to do in Batuu to convince, it's either Oga or Doc Ondor, one of them, to convince them that the Resistance can have a base there. When she came and said, I'm looking for the place to put the Resistance base, they said, we need you to get this relic from this place. And in order to do that, the ancients it was an ancient's relic. She had to go and solve some puzzles.
All right, I'm going to push back on that. Here's why I'm going to push back a little bit. The energy that thing created out of its body, and also, I don't know if you noticed, the stone was 100% the stone from the fifth element. Do you notice the stone? It was a fifth element stone. Yeah. They plug that thing in, you get the blue energy, just like the blue energy from the Zepho. And then when that thing went to light off, it does the same thing that those blue Zepho Guardians do, where the middle of it, starts up and then shoots a blue beam across the floor. It was exactly the same. Everything about it was exactly the same.
I would love for it to be Zepho. I really don't think that's where they were going. Right? But having said all of that, my biggest issue with the Bad Batch episodes so far is they seem to be completely disconnected stories. And I guess that's okay, right? But we just went from the pod racing ripoff, because again, they didn't want to make it pod racing. They had to make it something else. Another missed opportunity. Just make it pod racing, for goodness sake. Had to make it something else. Actually, it resembled more of the Resistance series, and the way they were always going through the circles and racing each other. To me, it was more Resistance than it really was pod racing. But okay, they had to do that, and then we have this thing, right? None of it. And then before that, we had a Cody Crosshair clone thing. It just feels so disconnected. At least the last season, to me, there was connectivity. I thought there was anyway.
Look back at the Tales of the Jedi. Even though it was there were different stories in the season, at least with Dooku in the short run that he had, there was interconnectivity between the episodes, right? We saw why Dooku was feeling the way he did. It added to the overall story. We understood why maybe Dooku made the choices that he did when it came to joining, essentially the Sith. But it seemed to just make sense to me. And then again, you sit there and you watch Bad Batch and you're like, why do I give a shit week to week what we're doing? Because none of it has any impact on the other. How did you know?
It's yeah. I was like, what? Maybe part of it is also recency bias, because if I had to say from an animated perspective, the stories as much as I didn't think we needed any more Ahsoka stories at all, Tales of the Jedi compared to Bad Batch season 2, to me there's absolutely no comparison. There's no comparison in the storytelling, and you know what I mean. And those were only 10 to 15 minute shorts, for goodness sakes, right? These are longer, ostensibly Filoni storied up. I really don't get it. And for me, the only reason I watch The Bad Batch anyway is for the Empire subtext and for the time period.
Of course you do.
And we've now gotten what, 2 out of the 5 episodes that had nothing to do with any of that.
No. So what do you want?
And this is consistent. You know, the screener feedback said something like, a lot of the feedback said something like, well, if the first 3 episodes are good, you have to get through 4, 5, and 6, and then once you get on to, or it was 6 or 7, once you get to the back half of the season, I think for some of us who are struggling a bit, it's going to be less of a struggle because we're going to get the Mount Tantus. Although what they're doing with Mount Tantus and all that, I don't know that people are going to like it, but we're going to get it. And all that stuff comes later. Crosshair comes back, and different things are coming. But on 16 episodes, it just seems like they could have done something a little bit more cohesive, and for me, just something a little bit more pleasing. I was pretty much tuned out in this last episode. I really was.
You didn't find it extremely interesting?
I liked it better than the episode previous, just because I don't like pod racing. Right? You know what I mean? It's.
You know, I keep bringing him back on the show, and every time he says he hates pod racing, I don't know what to do with you.
But I liked the previous episode because it had Ernie Hudson as a voice actor, and it had Ben Schwartz. So I'm like, okay, I got a Ghostbuster and Sonic. I can do something with this.
Yeah.
Like, this last episode to me was completely pointless. I don't know what the point of it was.
Which is shocking because of the weight and the spectacle of what happened. Something surely must come of this, right? Does that make sense?
That's what everyone's saying. They're saying, okay, well, at some point in the future in this season, something that we just saw, it's going to become relevant. And I get that, and I know we always struggle with this. Wait till the end and judge it on its own merits versus judge it as a season, and how do we juxtapose all of that stuff? I get it, but I haven't seen the whole season. I've only just seen the last episode. I didn't think it was good. Right? If they come back in the future in some amazing way and show us a Zepho tie-in, or something about that mech becomes relevant, or whatever. They didn't even end up with the relic because it disintegrated. Yeah. Right? That's why I'm really struggling. They didn't come away from that with anything other than
Rise of Skywalker, right? Like, we got this thing, but now it's pointless. So we got to get this other thing. But now that we got this thing, it's pointless. So we got to find another thing.
Was the point of the article? Was the point of that episode the fact that Hunter is becoming disgruntled? Right? Because he seemed pissed off. The only thing I got out of that episode is Hunter is pissed off.
Yeah.
Was that the point? Right? Like, the point of the previous episode is that Sid's going to betray them. I'm you know, it's really, really tough for me. Because again, I'm glad I didn't watch it at 3 a.m. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I found out after the last season I'm not staying up to watch those. You know, it was tough too because the first episode of the first season, I was like, I'm all in on this. I am all in on the Bad Batch, and then I went all the way through the season. And I'm like, I'm never staying up for another Bad Batch episode ever again. It's tough. We expect, we hope that these filler projects, that's what I'll call them. You know, Bad Batch is definitely one of the filler projects. I would say Tales of the Jedi is another filler project. Visions, filler project. These projects that kind of come in between what we would consider to be major content now, since we're not fucking getting movies anymore. We would hope that they add to the grander story that is Star Wars, because now we can't have anything except for what is canon, technically. We hope that they add to the grand story, and for me, Bad Batch does not add to that grand story, save for a few moments in the first season.
Well, in Tales of the Jedi, we got Dooku erasing the archives, and
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so Tales of the Jedi did that. Tales of the Jedi adds, you know, in that way. So,
yeah, like I say, I'll keep watching. Of course, it's a and I do have to keep reminding myself, and I've seen it in the chat as well. Yes, it's a cartoon. Right, and so they're doing they're doing certain things to appeal to the animated audience. I get that, but for me, I hold it up against Rebels from an animated perspective.
Right.
And the story they told in Rebels was a deep story.
And it added to the greater universe.
And the medium was obviously animation, but the story was quite deep and it was cohesive. And when I then look at the Bad Batch, I'm just not getting Bad Batch season 2 specifically. I'm just not getting that.
Yeah.
Just not getting it.
I saw a comment somewhere I wanted to pull up, but I'm not seeing it. Hold up. Everybody hold up. Well, I can't seem to find it, but the question, here it is, from Alex. What animated series would you make instead of Bad Batch? The series that I would make would be the retelling of the 501st Journals from the Battlefront series. So I would love to see, and something that would definitely coincide with the Bad Batch, is the transition after Order 66 from a clone who stays in it. So stuff that we should be seeing from basically Cody right now, from the regular clones, as opposed to Clone Force 99 that was just like, we're not going to do this. And, black crayon on the side of my face. I'm Hunter. We're not gonna. It's just like I don't give a shit. I don't care. I don't care about Omega. I don't care about her story. The bottom line is, if she becomes an extremely important character in the Star Wars universe, she's Force sensitive, whatever the case may be, it puts a lot of wrenches in a lot of gears. You know what I mean? If she's the clone, it puts a lot of wrenches and a lot of gears. So the bottom line is, if she becomes really important and the way the show is going is making her important, it makes problems. If she winds up not being important at all and they all die, what the fuck was the point of telling the show? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's easy. I know this was a rumor. Maybe it will manifest. Maybe it won't. But I would rather have a Darth Maul focused story, an animated, something about what happened to Darth Maul. How does he take over the crime syndicate? Where does he go? What does he do? I personally would like to understand a little bit more about that. To me, that would be interesting. I mean, we know what happens to him in Rebels, obviously, and we kind of know where he started and what they filled in, but there is a significantly, for me, missing piece now. At least they haven't shown us on the screen, that gives us the Maul that we saw teased at the end of Solo, right? The fact that he was running all that stuff. And there was another article that I saw recently that talks about, how George Lucas had at one time thought that the character that we got as Grievous was actually going to be Maul with the Grievous, right. It was going to be Maul under that mask and all those things. I'm not saying that's the story I want, but I know there was a lot of Maul-centric thought process behind where we were going from a trajectory standpoint. To me, that's an easy win. I would rather be watching that series right now than I would be Bad Batch Season 2.
Right. And I think, again, it just kind of boils into what impact does Bad Batch have on the greater universe? So far as I can tell, it's nothing. If it does become something that could be problematic, and if it doesn't do anything, then I don't really see any point in doing all these serialized episodes that are self-contained stories that add nothing other than just something to watch for, 35 minutes, 38 minutes, and while we're waiting for Mando. It just seems like a waste to me. I don't know. And I would rather see the money and the effort and the talent put towards something that is worth telling.
And Star Wars Dog, another great one. Give me a Grievous show, animated, fine.
Dude, the Grievous backstory.
Give me more Grievous. Another
way into that.
Easy win. Yeah. Right? I don't want so many more Clone Wars centric or clone centric stories necessarily, but if you give me some more meaty stories about Clone Wars era folks, whether it's Maul or Grievous or whomever, right? Even more Cody. Give me a Cody story. Which, again, going back to what Kenobi Season 2 could be about.
Yeah.
Right? Where maybe they're tying into the fact that Kenobi defected and he ends up with Kenobi. Maybe, there's things they could do there very easily. But those are the kinds of animated things that I think I would enjoy.
I'm a big fan of this one, Star Killer. I mean, how hard is it to tell that story? Look, I understand a lot of things. They're not willing to make a whole lot of stuff that isn't canon. But I mean, Vision's already happened. So we know they can make stuff that's non-canon. The Star Killer story was fantastic. You have somebody who's young and healthy in Sam Witwer that's still able to not only voice act, take part in, consult on what could be an absolutely fantastic story for Star Killer. Galen Merrick and basically the formation of the rebellion. I don't think there's any way that you couldn't make that work with Andor.
Sure.
You can make it work. You can make it. It doesn't have to be live action. Of course, I would love to see that in live action. And you don't have to be 100% strict on sticking to the video game perfectly. But as we know, after watching The Last of Us, there are fans that will come in droves to watch a retelling live action of a video game that they love.
I don't even know. I think I haven't watched anyone play through the video game. Actually, I kind of thought you might play through it while the series was going on. But regardless, I never watched
PlayStation.
Okay, I never played The Last of Us, but I'm totally hooked on the. As a matter of fact, I'll probably watch the episode after we get done here. Right, I am totally hooked on The Last of Us on HBO Max, and I would posit
it's incredible.
I would offer it's a great role for Pedro Pascal. I think he's doing great as the character in The Last of Us, but I don't even like the whole zombie business or any of the rest of it. I'm just into it.
Yeah, neither does my wife. She won't watch it. When I told her it was basically mushrooms that killed everybody, she's like, nope, fuck that. We got a super chat from Felicity Poobell for $5. I bet the farm we get an adult Omega. Oh, adult Alpha Omega telling Boba how much he sucks at some point. That's the only reason she's there, in my opinion.
Well, one thing we know that's not happening, because it was discussed in a Michelle Ang or someone or the showrunner, we know there will be not any Boba and Omega meeting in Bad Batch season 2,
which is interesting.
So on Felicity's point, I tend to agree. I think there are plans that in some future way to have Omega enter into live action, and obviously then I know obviously then I would think an interaction with Boba makes sense, but I think we're not getting it unless they're just playing coy and totally misdirecting us. I don't think they are. I don't think it's a part of the story. Whatever story they're telling in Bad Batch season 2, I don't think it has nothing to do with
I'd be real interested to see the numbers on what Omega's selling for toys, because obviously this is a kids show. So I'd be really interested to see how many Omegas are selling or how many Bad Batch toys are selling.
Not that this is a barometer for anything, but the only Lego set that they've released that's been Bad Batch focused had no Omega minifig. So,
and that's Lego.
It surprised me.
Yeah.
Right? It surprised me a bit. I don't think there are no planned sets for Bad Batch season 2 to my knowledge.
Yeah.
So I don't
know. It's another one of those things. It doesn't really make sense. Just doesn't make sense. Felicity, thank you for the 5.
Thank you.
The second it comes out, I'm going to play through it on PC. Don't you worry.
Yeah, I mean, if you can, I realized it was PlayStation only, but if it's coming to PC, then
honestly, it's one of the best experiences I've ever had playing a game. I mean, like, it pulls you in emotionally, like no other game I've ever played in my entire life. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Rest in peace, the actress who voiced Tess.
Tess died.
She was also Renee in 24. I'm a huge 24 fan. She's been so many things. She was just the Borg Queen in Picard season 2. Unfortunately, she passed today from a late diagnosed battle with cancer. Yeah,
that always sucks to hear.
Yeah.
Wow. Shit, that sucks. All right. Well, that was pretty much it for me. I mean, I don't know.
Was there anything else? I think that was it, right?
I mean, there's some stuff about the 5 major ways the Mandalorian ties into a Boba Fett spinoff, and it's just I don't know if people here really want to hear about it. I don't know if I have enough interest in it to really like spill my heart out and talk about it. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm waiting on bated breath for Mando to come out, so I've got something I can kind of sink my teeth into.
Oh, here's a question for you, just out of curiosity. What are
And
your
obviously
thoughts?
Jedi Survivor.
What are your? Oh yeah, remember Jedi Survivor? The sequel is also in March, so March will be an abundance of riches, so to speak, right, from a content perspective. But the question I want to ask is, what are your thoughts around Thrawn and Gideon? Aligned, not aligned, same page, different page. What do you think about that part of? Because there's been some scuttle. I don't think it's going to happen, but there's been some scuttlebutt that Thrawn might appear in Mando 3, only because we hear Carson Teva in the trailer saying there's something going on out there. By the way, I think he could be talking to Mon Mothma. I think it's possible we see Genevieve. That'd be okay. But what are your thoughts on Gideon and Thrawn and that whole business?
Remind me to bring this up when we're done talking, because I have a fun announcement for the channel after that. But yeah, it's tough. You're talking to the right guy when it comes to Thrawn, for sure. I've spent a lot of time with that character, a lot of time with that character. In terms of them being aligned, I don't really know that would be Thrawn's MO at this point. Thrawn lives far and above away from petty squabbles. The only thing I think he could theoretically be interested in would be the cloning with Grogu. But even to that point, his experiences with Jedi in the past and cloned Jedi in the past has not particularly been pleasant. So if anything, he could theoretically be against Gideon.
But I think the story they're telling in Ahsoka has the Thrawn Jedi connection covered in a different way.
Well, I don't know. It's tough because at this point, there's 3 different ways basically Thrawn could be involved in this. So, I mean, you have the original trilogy, the original Heir to the Empire trilogy, Thrawn, and then you have this, the Rebels Thrawn, and then now you would have this Mandoverse Thrawn. And then you also have the new Thrawn trilogy where he's fighting the Grisk Thrawn.
Yeah.
So in order of trying to figure out exactly which one he's going to be or where his loyalties lie or what his intentions are, I think it's going to be speculation at best to say what his motivations are going to be. More than anything, I think with the way Disney handles things, he's going to be trying to regain the glory of the Empire, which would be a total mischaracterization of him and what he's trying to do. But if I had to take a guess, that's probably where he's going to try to go.
I'm with you. I think a couple of things, right? Number one, I think we're getting the Rebels Thrawn. I think it's without question. We're getting the Rebels Thrawn, and his motivation is going to be going after some combination of Ezra and Ahsoka, right? I think he's going to be very motivated to, if for no other reason, I think he holds them responsible for what all ended up happening, right? And all of that. Now, in regards to him and Gideon, I personally don't think they're on the same page, right? I think Gideon is hell-bent on enacting Palpatine's comeback plan.
Yeah.
And I think he's on a trajectory to give us Snoke and the First Order and all of the rest of that goodness that half of us aren't into.
And you can almost draw that too from the Imperial remnants when Bob or what's his name, Bill Burr was there, and the guy is talking about Operation Cinder for the Empire. That seems to be their whole MO, is definitely bringing back the glory of the Empire.
I'm there with you on that. So I think they're misaligned a bit in regards to the trajectories that they're on. I do think the most interesting thing for me about the Mando 3 trailer, which was omitted from the YouTube version, but which behind the paywall, right, on the Disney Plus version, was why was Pershing on what may be Coruscant, those Star Destroyers being decommissioned and some things happening there, speculative, maybe they were Thrawn's, maybe they weren't. I think there's something going on there that they need. I'm with you. I think my biggest concern has always been the Thrawn treatment in Ahsoka, and the more I hear on the scuttlebutt and how they're handling different parts of that story and picking and choosing conceptually from Heir to the Empire and some of the rest of it, I just go back to, why don't you just tell that story? Don't pick and choose from it. Don't give me new characters that act like character that are stand-ins for characters that were talked about there. Just to give me that story. They don't appear to be doing that, and that's where I think people are going to have an issue with it. Just because you know what I mean. We those are our stories. Those are stories that we love for Thrawn aficionados.
Yeah.
They just have to nail it.
That's a subset though. So this is where I would agree with like a Maria take, where it's like, well, only some of you care about it. The Thrawn thing, I would agree there. It's only some of us that are like diehard Thrawnies that are like, bro, you better get that shit right. I swear to God. We got a super chat from Paul Blunt.
My biggest
Canadian,
fan,
279. Damn it, Rissman, those guns are too hot for YouTube. Honestly, he had the shirt on, and I'm like,
it's a lot thicker than I thought it was going to be.
Thank you, Paul. Always great to have you here.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm seeing a diversity of thought in the chat, which I always appreciate, and I love that you guys are able to coexist, friendly or not, in the chat and have a discussion. I appreciate it, but for me at this point, really the biggest thing I need in Star Wars is a big win. I need a big win, and there seems to be a track record when it comes to Disney Star Wars of giving me a big win and then following it up almost immediately after with something that eliminates it. Like for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Disney Star Wars has followed that law to a T. So I would love a win that I can just hang on to for a while. I think that's where I'm at.
Maybe, again, for all of my being over Grogu and his merchandise and all the rest of it, I really hope Mando 3 is a win, a near-term win coming.
Yeah.
Because if it isn't, if somehow they've now managed to screw up the Mandalorian, that's gonna be rough. That's gonna be a rough set of that's gonna be so very rough. So,
okay, here, because people are dying for it.
Oh, the what we were supposed to talk about is collectibles, by the way, that we're buying next.
Oh yes. So here, I'll put this poll out. So what was the question? What would you rather see, expanded universe or what? EU content or continued Disney canon? Let's ask the community. Let's see what the community has to say. So so there when it comes to the collectibles and stuff, there's a couple announcements, short announcements I want to make, and obviously Rissman, you've already got one lined out, but
can't wait. Amazing.
The brother is casting these stormtrooper helmets in pewter and then custom bluing them. These things are weighty as hell, and I think it's really cool that they're being custom made. So each one is kind of a one of a kind piece because they're all ground differently, they're all blued differently. And if this is something that kind of works out for him, he's going to be doing a full line. So we'll get phase 1, phase 2, different Mando helmets, all the clones, stormtrooper helmets. He'll be casting these in pewter. They are at a $99 price point, which I understand is high for people, but you also have to realize that pewter is expensive. Casting these is expensive, and then taking the time to hand grind, hand polish, and then blue these is it's a project.
By the by, we probably want to tack something on there for shipping because of the weight. The shipping could be.
He said he's going to do them. He said he's going to do them free shipping.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to revisit that or what. He's just kind of doing a test right now, and I'll be honest with you, I went and I checked out like a bunch of other pewter creations and stuff. It's dirt cheap for these heavy metal Star Wars objects.
No, I saw Spencer was like, the price point was way too low. It's like, well, let him raise the. Let him raise it later. Don't raise it now. Let him raise the price point later.
They're super cool. They're super cool. They may not be that way forever, but yeah, some of the other stuff that they sell, they have those third-party websites that sell the pewter creations. Yeah, and they're like $200-$300 easy. So yeah, if you want to get one before, just shoot me a message. I put a tweet up on Twitter. Send me a message if you want to get one, because he's only going to do 5 to start, and if those go, then he may do another line. So anyways, that's that. And then the other interesting, exciting thing that I have coming for anybody who's a prequel trilogy fan or a fan of figures, cardback figures, I went way too hard and I purchased a 120 cardback figure lot from another collector down in Texas. So as soon as those 120 figs come in, I will probably be doing a live stream. I can't imagine I would do it on a video. I'll do a live stream. I'm going to be unboxing all of those, maybe trying to figure out somewhere to put them in this room. I was just going to ask you, where are you going to put them? I have no idea, because the back wall behind this is already full, ceiling to floor with figures. Ceiling to floor, the entire length of this 20-foot wall is completely covered. And this, obviously, half of this wall, and then the other side of the wall is all of my ships. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with them. Maybe I'll open an online figure store. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do at this point, but I'd like to look through them. There are some really cool ones. Most of them are essentially Revenge of the Sith, but there's some really cool Force Unleashed figures with variants from Sam Witwer's character. Obviously there's some cool Galen Merricks. There's all kinds of cool stuff in there. So I'm excited to post them up, take a look, see how they look. Maybe I'll do a couple dioramas with some of them or something. I don't know. I'm excited. But let's take a look at the poll. Wow. Expanded Universe took a massive lead.
When I saw what the poll was, I was like, well, this poll never stood a chance, right?
Yeah, that took a massive lead. Oh, this is kind of cool. Hold up right quick. The Rogue Attraction.
Yeah. Tom. He's got the thing always on his. He's got the thing always on his shoulder.
Yeah, he's always got the Kowakian monkey lizard on his shoulder. Check this out. He was at Galaxy's Edge and ran into somebody.
Oh, she's there.
Yeah, Ashley, right? Ashley. Yeah, Ashley was down at Galaxy's. That's cool. You can see how. Look at the sabers in her hand.
They are. We always play that.
It's a lot thicker than I thought it was going to be.
I'm not a fan of that guy, but you always play that guy. But you can now really see it. I mean, that's why I always say these Disney sabers are clearly display sabers. But even that, I mean, they are just massive. It's just massive.
Yeah, that thing is huge. Anyway. Okay, everybody. Well, I know usually we don't do these on a Sunday night. I like to do them on Saturdays or Fridays. Unfortunately, we had some scheduling issues, and that's my fault from yesterday. I apologize, but I appreciate everybody being here. We had like 70 people in here. Please, before you leave, I can't tell you how much it means when you hit the like button before you leave. It just kind of helps bring the content out. And if you would, before you leave, go down to the comment section. The question of the night is going to be, which expanded universe project would you like to see done in live action? Not in animation, but what project would you like to see in live action? And it can go all the way up to an R rating. So any expanded universe project in an R rating, leave it in the comment section. I'm going to be talking about it on the next late night. We're going to come through and check them out. What's up?
Before we go, we're doing a member stream this week?
We are. We're going to be doing a member stream for all of my members. I know I see a lot of you guys in the chat right now. Yes, Thursday, there's going to be a members only stream. I think we're going to do it probably, I'm going to try to get it about 8:15 Eastern. I'm not off work until 8 Eastern, so I will try to get it set up on my lunch break so that by 8:15 we're all together there and hanging out. And it's just going to be, it's going to be a chill stream. We can all hang out, talk, enjoy, just, have a good time. It's my members. I want to hang out with you guys. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Risman, anything else you want to say before we go?
No, really enjoyed this. So glad to see so many folks here. Thanks for showing up on an impromptu Sunday night. Always makes my day. So glad to have everyone here. Really enjoyed.
Perfect. All right. I will see you guys Wednesday for another State of the Star Wars address. I'll see you there. And until then, may the Force be with you. Thank you guys for being here. And I will see you next time. Chicka chow.